So I skipped ahead a little in the painting here. What I basically done is to paint the foreground white. Maybe not so interesting to watch, that's why I skipped that part. But today I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my thoughts on painting on a black canvas. So since last time I painted the rabbit, and I also did some glaze on his face, and also the mouse I painted and glazed with some brownish color. I think that turned out pretty well, and this is the white foreground now. I also did the rest of the clothes, as you can see, with some glaze. So the problem with the black canvas is you have to, if you have white areas, I mean bright areas, you have to paint them white with acrylics, and it's particular acrylic paint I think is difficult to get a very plain similar area. It's gets a bit rough, but I guess you can work that out later. I mean, I know you can. So when is it a good time to choose a black canvas then? Well, it depends on if you're going to make a bright or a dark painting. And in this case I thought many areas should be quite dark, like the background here. So even if I had to do some boring work down here, then in this area I can just hint at the highlights, I guess, and then just leave the rest unpainted and cover it all with a similar glaze, because there's all fabrics here in the same color, I think. So that should be very efficient work. And I did sort of this with the rabbit. I didn't have to paint the entire face of it. I could just leave some of it black and then glaze it. So now I'm starting to paint the fabric, the highlights on the fabric with the white color, and it's a good idea to, when you make a painting, to paint as quickly as possible the entire surface. And that is because of how colors work. So if you just paint the face and you think the colors are nice, but you haven't painted the surrounding, then you will find when you do paint the surrounding that everything changes. Like when I make the background green and the face contrasts with the green background, then you might have to change the face. That's very likely, because color always works in relation with other colors. That is also like why this first round of painting, when I cover the entire surface, I don't have to be very exact, because you can basically count on that you have to redo at least some part of it. On the other hand, if you paint in this fashion, like when you do the fabric, if you do it in a very particular way and you make everything exact, then it has some benefits too, like then if you cover it with a glaze, then you don't have to rework it so much. But maybe you have to change the color, I guess, but that's not such a big issue with the background here, because since the entire fabric is of the same color, you can just make another glaze on top of it. So well, it depends on the situation, really. So now I mixed up the green and start to glaze, and as you can see, maybe you can't, but I mixed in some white as well to make the green more opaque. And so the black areas of the fabric, they will also get a little white in them, so that will even out this very strong contrast. But it's good to make this black and white work pretty rich in contrasts, so you can see the difference when it shines through. If you do too little, maybe you don't notice even the shades of gray. Well, unfortunately I ran out of battery during painting, but this is the final result. I covered all the background in green glaze.